Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you all. So today we're going to be covering Bystial Punk Spright, which is really more or less just Punk Spright. If you watched my latest edition of Master Duel Academy where we covered a deck building, this is the example deck that we end up putting together during that video. But I did change a few things around. I think actually just a few cards in the main, some amount of cards in the main deck. I don't exactly remember how many off the top of my head, but we did end up swapping a few of those around. Namely, I did decide to include a second Foxy tune just to make the Punk engine a little bit more consistent from where we had it at the end of that video. And I also threw in Prosperity as well as a couple of copies of Infinite Impermanence there, just to make sure that we were all good on consistency as well as disruption for our plays there. The extract I think is more or less the same, but yeah, I wanted to come back to Punk Spright specifically. So I've kind of been using Bystial Spright Synchro as a bit of a replacement for this style of deck, or this, I guess, particular list of using Punks and Sprites together. However, I've been on a bit of a Punk kick lately. I really am eager to get into the actual Punk archetype and start playing it. The problem is that there's the new secret pack around the corner, at least so we've been told in like various leaks and stuff, and like, I just know if I actually spend UR points crafting, Rising Carp and Amazing Dragon, then like the next day they're going to announce the secret pack. So I'm just waiting for that to get officially announced and we can pull from that. But in the meantime, yeah, I'm just getting my Punk fix by combining them with Sprites. Not the most obvious combination in the world, but it has worked out in the past. For those who don't know, I did actually get top 16 in MCS Week 14 with a Punk Spright list that I put together even before Bystials came out. This was in the midst of Tier 0 format a couple of months ago. So I have a decent bit of experience with lists like this, and the Bystials do add quite a bit. Now here, we've only added 3 of the Bystial monsters, just Baldrake, Druiswarm, and Magnamhut. It's definitely not like, Spright Synchro with a whole Bystial package with like the 3 Lubellion and all that fun stuff. No, we were just doing the bare minimum here. In fact, you really don't even need to throw the Bystial in here. It could debatably just be Punk Spright here. I think I was intending to play like Lubellions and stuff and try those out, but we just do not have the room in a list like this. So yeah, it's a pretty standard fare list as far as, I was going to say as far as Punk Spright goes, but that's not exactly a standard fare combination, so let me talk about it a little bit for those who haven't seen past iterations of this deck. So the idea here is that the Punk engine is very, very good at turboing out Chaos Ruler. Amin is like a 1.5 card Chaos Ruler, and what I mean by that is like, you really just need to open Amin plus literally any card to discard for the Foxy tune, and that right there will get you a Chaos Ruler. And from there, Chaos Ruler can potentially excavate the Assault Synchron. The Assault Synchron is kind of our bridge between the Punks and the Sprites, working very well, of course, with the Punk side of synchroing for stuff, namely Chaos Ruler, of course. And of course, Assault Synchron has a lot of natural synergy with Chaos Ruler, but then being level 2, you also get to then start special summoning Spright monsters. Of course, if you open with Assault Synchron and Spright Blue, you can always do a Cupid Pitch line, which will get you the ability to search a Caligo Clawcrow in addition to the Chaos Ruler. Decided to make room for the Shinobi Necro package here as well. That's going to be using Spright Sprind to send the Shinobi Necro to the graveyard. That way you can banish it and the Cupid Pitch out of the yard in order to bring back the Chaos Ruler, which will get you a level 2 tuner alongside it very conveniently. So went ahead and threw that in here as well. I really like having the Spright Smashers in here. I actually haven't been playing this card in Punk Spright in the past because I thought, it was a little bit too much of a brick. It doesn't really contribute to combos. I was like, don't really feel like it in that regard. However, I will say that there's a lot of the time, like especially if you open it, where you don't need to search starter off of Jet, and it really does help to have something else to be able to search. Of course, Spright Smashers is just a good card in its own right as well, but in particular, just having the search targets is very, very nice. That's also why we play 2 Caligo Clawcrow. If you're wondering why we play this card, period, it might seem a little bit weird. It's got 600 defense, so it's the card that we search off of Cupid Pitch, and We can special it from our hand if we control literally any dark monster. It's also level 2, so it synergizes with our sprites, but mainly we special summon it alongside Chaos Ruler to link into Sprind, and then as I mentioned before, that sends the Shinobi Necro. The Chaos Ruler brings itself back by banishing the Shinobi Necro, and then you get to make even more plays from there. So the Caligo Claw Crow, the second one, is here in case we draw or excavate one of the crows off of the Chaos Ruler, because it's happened enough, and it feels really bad, right? Where you make a Chaos Roll using Cupid Pitch, and then you just excavate the Caligo Claw Crow off of the ruler, and it's like, ugh, well, now I either have to take Caligo Claw Crow potentially over something else I want to take just to get it, or just accept that my Cupid Pitch is going to have absolutely nothing to do here. So, yeah, been really liking the ratios there as far as that goes. And, of course, this as well as Bystial Spright Synchro as well. All right, I think that's about everything I wanted to cover. As far as the list itself goes, whenever I show off decks like this, a lot of people ask about the tunings, like, do you need tuning? You don't need 3 tuning, but I really like tuning in decks like these because in decks like these, Assault Synchron is the key. Assault Synchron is what makes the whole deck function and is pretty much always the best and star card of the deck, so having the means to search it is nice. There is also, if you want a more budget option, there is, oops, it's not, hang on. It's like Ready, Set, Duel or something like that. No. It's a continuous spell card. Oh my goodness. Now, of course, I'm going to have all the trouble finding it. No, can't find it. Oh, wait, nope. Nope, I thought I had it. No, here it is. I did find it. On your mark, get set duel. This is a budget option to potentially replace the tuning. It, like tuning, can add a Synchron monster from deck to hand. The problem is that this is a continuous spell, and you have to have no other cards on the field in order to even activate this thing. To be fair, most of the time you want to do this as your first action on turn 1 anyway, but obviously the tuning is going to be a lot more generic. Also, the random mill from tuning comes up enough of the time. Like, just sending a random light or a dark monster to banish off a Bystial, it happens enough that I think it is another reason why tuning, if you have the spare materials / copies of tuning lying around, you should definitely use that over on your mark, get set duel. I would probably not even play this if I wasn't playing tuning. I'd probably just play more extenders and just leave my 3 Assault Synchron where they are. So, alright, that's going to be everything that I wanted to cover for the list now. I'm going to break it down card by card, and then we'll look at some games. We're playing 3 Maxx, 2 Caligo Claw Crow, 1 Shinobi Necro, 2 Spright Blue, 2 Spright Jet, 1 Spright Red, 1 Spright Carrot, 3 Assault Synchron, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Amin, 1 Noh-P.U.N.K Deer Note, 1 Bystial Magnamhut, 1 Bystial Druiswarm, 1 Bystial Baldrake, 2 Noh-P.U.N.K Foxy Tune, 3 Tuning, 1 Pot of Prosperity, 2 Emergency Teleport, 2 Call by the Grave, 2 Spright Starter, 1 Spright Smashers, and 2 Infinite Impermanence. It's going to round out our main deck. For the extra deck, we're on 1 Herald of the Arclight, 1 Cupid Pitch, 1 Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, 1 Accel Synchro Stardust Dragon, 1 Baronne de Fleur, 1 Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Chengying, 1 Psychic End Punisher, 1 Gigatic Spright, 1 number 38 Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 Spright Elf, 1 Spright Sprind, 1 Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax, and then 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. That's going to round out our list. Now let's look at some games. Okay, so we have our first game here is going to be up against Mekk-Knight, I believe this was. I just looked, but I looked at a bunch of different games. I think this was the Mekk-Knight. Yeah, I'm assuming based off the sign at field there. So we're going to be taking the second turn here. We do open up with the Maxx on the draw phase, so we definitely love to see that going second, forcing our opponent to set 1 back row before passing. This is a hand that desperately wants the extra deck to have Salamangreat Almirage, right? If we had a Salamangreat Almirage in the extra deck, which I actually kind of considered including, but thought it'd be a bit too niche, but this is the literal one exact situation where you need it, right? Because what you could do, instead of just summoning Shinobi Necro and attacking like I did here, is you can summon Shinobi Necro, link it for the Salamangreat Almirage, it'll put it in the graveyard, then you can use your Bystial monster to banish it, summon the Bystial monster, get back to Shinobi Necro, and then sync them for Chaos Ruler, and ideally from there you can get some plays going, right? But again, here, do not have the Almirage in my extra deck, no link ones at all, so gonna have to just battle with this, set a card, then pass. A little bit nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I do still have Maxx, Ash Blossom, a Bystial, and Called by, so ideally we should be able to have enough disruption here to make sure our opponent doesn't do too much of anything. Got another Maxx as a Mathmech Sigma is coming down. That means this Bystial is probably going to get to put in a decent amount of work here. They're going to normal summon the Mathmech, it was either addition or subtraction there, in order to go for the Alumburtion. I'm going to go ahead and Ash Blossom this. This isn't knowledge that you've really had to, consistently utilize since the Mathmech format a little while ago, but when it comes to the choke points of Mathmech, Alumburtion, the search here is often the best thing that you want to hit, because even if they already have the circular in hand, this will grab either Diameter or one of these Spiral Trap cards, whichever they want more, and no matter what it's getting, it's going to be a bad time for you. So I'm going to use the Ash Blossom against the Alumburtion there and go ahead and just stop that right now. But it's going to have to move to battle phase at this point, battling over my Shinobi Necro. Totally fine. I love having that card in the graveyard. So end phase, I'm going to use the Magnamhut to banish and summon itself. This will allow me to not only summon the Magnamhut as well as the Shinobi Necro, but even though I use Magnamhuts or summon a Magnamhut during the end phase, I still get the effect to search as well there. So gonna grab myself a Druiswarm before the opponent passes back over to me. And as you can see, our draws off of the Maxx there were phenomenal. Literally, Assault Synchron and Amin are like the two best cards you could possibly ask for to get off of top decks with a hand in a situation like we're in right here. Also got ourselves a Caligo Claw Crow, which will be a nice extender here. At this point, I'm just going to special the Crow and then sync it off with the Shinobi Necro and go for a Cupid Pitch. Or sorry, not a Cupid Pitch. I thought I was going for that, but I'm going to go for a Herald of the Arclight, looks like. I think the reason I decided to go for the Herald here was to have an Omni-Negate effect up before I started comboing. But I will say that might not have been the best call in the world, because now if I try to use the Chaos Ruler here, my stuff's going to get banished that would normally go to the graveyard. It's probably fine. It's probably not that big of a deal at all in this particular case, but I don't know. I probably should have thought about it at least a little bit more. Opponent's going to end up using a Forbidden Droplet against both the Chaos Ruler and the Herald of the Arclight. That's completely fine with me. I didn't need this Excavate to resolve anyway, and I don't think my opponent's going to have a live piece of disruption in their last two cards. I feel like if they had had something like Maxx or Ash Blossom or Imperm, they would have definitely already fired that off a long time ago. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this game. We did end up going second, but of course we had two Maxx in our opening hand. Despite that, we didn't get off to that great of a start, but yeah, the nice thing about, hands like this is if you don't open a lot of gas for your plays, you probably opened a lot of disruption to stop your opponent's plays and kind of drag the duel down to the pace of your opening hand, which we were able to successfully do in this situation. So let's go and take a look at the next duel here. This time we're going to find ourselves squaring up against Zodiac. Been a hot minute since I've played against this deck. It's a pretty pure Zodiac too. It's not blending with any other archetypes, so alright, we're going to be taking the first turn. Zodiac does typically like to go second, so I do think they let me go first here. We opened both E-Tally and Tuning, which is very nice. Gonna start with the Tuning. I definitely want the E-Tally to resolve more, so if one of the cards is going to get Ash Blossomed, I would definitely rather it be the Tuning. When I activate the E-Tally, opponent's got a Maxx, but thankfully we've got an Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring here, so we do get to actually play Yu-Gi-Oh! Here. Alright, negating that Maxx, here comes the E-Tally for the Amin. Amin F is going to pay 600 to add the Foxy Tune. Foxy Tune, I'm going to pitch to Caligo Claw Crow here, just because, of course, the Assault Synchron is the best extender in this deck, and Spright Jet is an extremely good one as well. Alright, here is the Chaos Ruler. Gonna get that as well as the Deer Note effect here. Opponent's going to DD Crow on the Deer Note target of Amin. That was definitely too early of a DD Crow on my opponent's part. They absolutely should have waited until my Chaos Ruler hit the graveyard. Of course, I don't expect most players to know the choke point of a deck like this, but I don't know. I would think that, I don't know, maybe they just didn't want to play against Psychic and Punisher, which is understandable. To be fair, I don't really know how Zodiac outs Psychic and Punisher, so that actually might have ended up being the best call for my opponent there. Alright, here I have the Magnamhut in addition to all my regular plays, which means I get to make the Accel Synchro Stardust Dragon here, go for a little bit of extension. It's actually not going to be super duper great here, because I'm just going to end up bringing back the Shinobi Necro, and then, well, I guess to be fair, that was fine, yeah, syncing it off with the Chaos Ruler and then making the Baronne. Actually, you know what, this will allow us to make a Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Chengying. It's just because I don't have access to a Bystial Loop Belly in here. This is what I was thinking of. I don't get to make the Hope Harbinger in this particular situation. Well, I could have if I really wanted to, but then we don't get to summon back the Chaos Ruler. Oh no, we do get to make Hope Harbinger here. I'm just tripping then, never mind. For some reason, I thought this was one of the situations where we had to choose between Chengying and Hope Harbinger, but nope. This is one of the situations where we get to have our cake and eat it too. This is probably one of the more expansive end boards you can make turn 1 with this deck. We don't have the Psychic End Punisher, to be fair, which we normally would have if the Amin hadn't gotten DD crowed, but we do have the Baronne and the Hope Harbinger and the Chengying, and then now we're just going into our Spright plays. Here's the Gigantic. Gigantic is going to grab the Carrot, gonna link those two off for the Spright Elf. Elf can bring back Carrot, and then we can just special this Spright Red that's in our hand. So, you know, casually ending on 4 negates, an Elf for some target protection, and Chengying, which is kind of a towers, but also kind of disruption too. So, suffice it to say, an extremely good turn 1 end board. But it's going to start with a Zodiac Whiptail and then link it off into a Borbo. A noble attempt on our opponent's part to try to Zeus our board away, but unfortunately, they, and a lot of people don't, read the ability of Hope Harbinger. They just know this as, oh, this is the rank 8 that negates spells, right? This is the rank 8 that negates spells, but in addition to that, Hope Harbinger has the ability to redirect attacks to it by actually detaching its Xyz materials. So, yeah, it definitely acts as a little bit more than spell disruption. It acts as battle protection as well. Now, in this case, your opponent is going to get to use the Whiptail to banish that Hope Harbinger, but I'm not concerned about it at all, honestly. I'm going to use the open space to bring back blue and search up my last Spright monster out of my deck. Top deck another Assault Synchron, because why not? Gonna activate Baron on the back row card. It's Crossout Designator, calling Maxx. It's pretty obviously just, you know, my opponent not wanting to concede just yet. So, yeah, it doesn't seem like they have much of anything. I still have an Omni, and as well as a Monster and Spell Trap Negate. So, let's just go ahead and move everything to attack mode and call it a game there. Beautiful. Alright, so that's going to go ahead and do it for that game against Zodiac. We still have a couple more to watch. Let's go straight into the next duel. Alright, here we have an opponent that is on Generator, utilizing a lot of the new Generator support, naturally. Well, actually, I don't know for sure if, oh, I can't remember the card's name now. The red lady. I think she's new. I know Raceholger is new. Obviously, he was on the cover of the pack, but I think the red lady is new too. Anyway, gonna start with the Amin. I already have Deer Note and Foxy Tune in hand, but I do still want to thin my deck out, so I'll still grab my second Foxy Tune. Activating the Deer Note effect to reveal the Foxy Tune, opponent's going to respond with a Dimension Shifter. That is definitely more than a bit of an oof, because as you've been seeing, this deck's combo is fairly graveyard dependent. However, unlike most combo decks that are very graveyard dependent, this deck can actually play under D-Shifter, or of course like Macro or Dimensional Fissure, any similar effect. We have plays under that. I'll show you some of them right here. So, here I'm going to sack off the Deer Note to summon my other Foxy Tune. That will allow me to sync the Foxy Tune to the Amin. Going straight for the Psychic End Punisher. Oh, the reason I went in shotgun to straight for the Psychic End Punisher here was when I saw the Dimension Shifter, my first assumption is that I was going to be playing against Flandreese. I didn't realize that Generator could also play Dimension Shifter, but definitely going to keep that in mind from now on. But I assumed I was playing against Flandreese, and against Flo, that deck actually has a really hard time dealing with Psychic End Punisher, so I'm totally fine if I think I'm playing against Flo, going way out of my way, kind of like I did there, just to make Psychic End Punisher. But that is not all we get to do here. I still have my normal summon, so we'll summon the Caligo Claw Crow, and a special the Spright Jet, and I'm going to do some Spright plays under the Dimension Shifter here as well. Gonna starter for blue. Blue's gonna search up the red. I get to then special the red, and I'll overlay the Caligo Claw Crow alongside the Jet in order to summon the Gigantic Spright, and then Gigantic Spright gets to pull the Spright Carrot out of the deck. Opponent is going to Ash Blossom in response to that Gigantic effect, but I'm just going to activate red. We'll sack off the blue. That way we get our search, we get our extra negate, plus our opponent is now on one less card to try and stop us here. So yeah, there's the Carrot, and I'm just going to pass back over to my opponent. So as you can see, even though we had to end, or play rather, under Dimension Shifter, we still ended with a very solid board. We have two forms of disruption, as well as the towers-like monster for our opponent to overcome here. Opponent's going to draw, Standby Bane, and then ultimately end up conceding. It doesn't seem like they have a way to actually play out of this board. So, yeah, you know, on the surface, it might seem like a card like Dimension Shifter would just shut this deck down super hard, but in practice, we actually play quite decently under it. So we do still have one more game to look at. I'm going to go straight into it here. For our final game, we are going to find ourselves scoring off against Dinomorphia. It's been a minute. It's definitely been a minute since I played against this deck. I actually am just now remembering that there was a point in time where Dinomorphia was actually a tier 3 deck. That was actually also back in Mekk-Knight format. Good old Mekk-Knight format. I do think that was the most fun format we had here on Master Duel. But anyway, I'm going to start. Opponent's going to draw phase Maxx, but I have the Called By here in order to put a stop to that. Open Amin with a few sprites and a Caligo Claw Crow, so I think we're already off to a pretty good start here. I'm actually going to start by normal summon the Crow and then specialing the Jet. That looked really weird, right? It's like, why wouldn't you normal summon No-P.U.N.K Amin? There's actually a reason for that, and the reason is that if my No-P.U.N.K Amin gets hit with an Ash Blossom or an Imperm here, with that particular hand, I'm done. I have no other plays, because Amin is not Dark or level 2, I don't have a way to extend with any of the other cards in my hand. So, I'm going to go for a Spright line, and unfortunately not going to get to go into a Punk line here at all on this turn, but even though my opponent did not end up having Ash Blossom or Imperm, I do still think this was ultimately the right play. I'm going to grab the Shinobi Necro here just because I don't really have any other targets I need to get, and this will potentially set this up in my graveyard for the next turn. So, alright, here comes the Spright Elf. It's going to offer some Resurrection as well as targeting protection here. For the red, as well as the IP Masquerena that's about to get summoned. And then we'll throw down the Carrot and pass over to our opponent. So, you know, that's the other thing I like about Sprite-based Synchro decks is that even if you don't get to, like, pop off and combo like you would normally like to, you still get to end on a pretty decent Spright board, right? Like Elf, IP Masquerena, Red, Carrot, that is a completely respectable board to end on. It's not as good as, you know, even pure Spright boards end on now, but it's definitely still a fine board to end on here. So, I'm going to go for my Avermax here. My opponent was threatening to move to battle phase, so I figured I'd go ahead and do that before they try to take out my IP Masquerena here. They're going to try to card a demise, so I'm definitely going to put a squash to that with the Spright Carrot here. I do not need them getting any more advantage here than they already have. And yeah, looks like they're going to set 3 cards before passing back over. Now, off the top of my head, I wasn't sure what, if any, outs Dinomorphia had to an Avermax with an IP under it, but I know that pretty much no matter what deck you're playing, it takes at least a little bit of work to out the Avermax. Opponent is going to end up having a Solemn Strike here. That's going to be a pretty huge blow, as it not only means I lose my Spright Carrot, but I also don't get to negate the Dinomorphia domain. Looks like the reason Diplos are fusing for the Kit Regina here. Kit Regina will, I'm assuming, copy the effective domain to summon Rex Term. That's usually how this ends up going. And yep, there is the Rex Term. Alright, Rex Term F is going to make all of our monsters as strong as their life points, so that way they're all negated under Rex Term. Going to try to summon this Magnamhut. Opponent's got a Called By the Grave for the target. Not really upset about the Shinobi... Well, actually, I am a little upset about the Shinobi Necro getting Called By here, but it's ultimately going to be fine. We're going to go ahead and use Spright Starter just to get our last blue out before ending and passing back over to the opponent here. You're going to move to battle. Now, battling over the Avermax does get rid of it, of course, but it also gives me an opportunity to put the Rex Term back in the deck. So, we do have that going for us. Of course, the opponent does have a back row in this case, so it could be the Dinomorphia fusion that lets them fuse from the grave, or another one that lets them fuse from the deck. But, to be fair, I have a monster negate. I have the Spright Blue. And I'm just going to move straight to battle phase here. And that actually ends up being enough to take the duel. I thought about trying to maybe summon the Magnamhut first, but I'm like, you know what? No. If I really, really need to summon it, I can still summon it during the battle phase, as long as they still have the Almirage out, which if they still have the Almirage out means I haven't battled over it and won yet. So they will still have the Almirage out. And that back row, especially in a deck like Dinomorphia, it's so infinitely more likely that it's going to get triggered by me summoning something than battling with something. So yeah, like I said, just move my monsters to attack mode, go to battle phase, and that ends up being all she wrote. And that's going to be all she wrote for this video here as well. So let's go ahead and move now to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack. You'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation. You do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is Accel. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.